What is up, guys? Archon9 bringing you guys another YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be going over the Shadowlands changes to Fire Mage. The reason I'm using Fire Mage next is because I actually played Fire Mage a little bit in BFA. It was kind of my go-to when I got tired of playing DK. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the changes, and then we'll look at the talent tree. Let's see what's going on here. So Mastery Ignite reworked. Fire Blast now serves as the catalyst. When used against an enemy who is ignited, it spreads up to 8 enemies close to your target. I like this change. I think it's really good because before it just could randomly spread whenever it wanted to, and they kind of suffered from the same problem that Unholy did with the Unholy Plague, like we talked about in that video, where if a mob got feared or ran away or jumped away, it could spread to another target unintentionally. This now makes it so the Fire Mage can control when the Ignite spreads. Very important. So I like the change. I think it's good. Blast Wave now does more damage and an increased slow duration. Kindling combustion cooldown reduced, or cooldown reduction increased, and pyroclasm damage bonus to pyroblast increased. So, go and look at these talents here. So I've already looked at the BFA talents, and I can tell you which ones have changed and which ones haven't. Nothing here is changing. I still think Searing Touch is going to be probably used in Mythic Plus and Raid, because 30% of a boss's HP is quite a bit. Firestarter I think could be used for questing, to just quickly tear down mobs. Pyromaniac, unfortunately, I don't see it being good. 8% is just way too little to hope that your Pyroblast or Flame Strike recast your Hot Streak. In theory, like if they would just up the percent on it, it could be really, really powerful, especially with Pyroclasm. You could run it with Pyroclasm and, keep proccing Hot Streak in order to maybe get a Pyroclasm proc and then use your Combustion with that on the mid-cast Pyroblast and deal a lot of damage and then start your Combustion rotation from there. But until they buff Pyromaniac, it's just kind of going to be a meh talent to me. Blazing Soul, I think Shimmer's the only thing. Well, Blasting Wave obviously got a little bit more damage, but Shimmer did get nerfed. There's only one charge now instead of two. We can go look here. This is the BFA talents. As you can see, Shimmer has two. Now it does not. Blast Wave did get buffed a little bit to 47.25% from, what is it now? Whoops, what is it now? From 45, so it's plus 2%. I don't really think it's gonna make that big of a difference. It's a 70% slow though. What is it now? So it's still the same, just the damage went up a little bit. I still think Shimmer is probably going to be better because you can, I believe, Shimmer while rooted or snared. And you can use it while casting. I can't remember about Blink because I've never actually bothered to use Blink because I've always used Shimmer. But anyway, the tier 3, Incander's Flow and Rune of Power stay the same. We are getting a new talent to replace, what was it? Mirror Image, because Mirror Image is going baseline for all specs. So Focus Magic increases the target's chance to critically hit by spells by 5% for 30 minutes. When the target critically hits, your chance to critically hit with spells is increased by 5% for 10 seconds. So it says it cannot be cast on yourself. Limit one target. Not sure how I feel about this. I'm trying to think of like utility uses for Focus Magic that would be better than Rune of Power. I mean, I guess it gives somebody else a 5% chance to do more damage. I don't know if that would offset the amount of damage you'd get off of Rune of Power. Rune of Power is what? 10 seconds and a 40-second recharge rate, and you get two of them. So you'll have 20 seconds of downtime before you'll get another charge up if you use both of them right away. So within that time, are you going to get more damage potentially from a 5% chance on an ally than what you would have gotten in Rune of Power? I don't think so. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be utility uses for it. Honestly, it doesn't say it has to critically damage. It just says critically hit. I guess maybe that would imply damage, so maybe you can't throw it on a healer. I was thinking maybe you could throw it on a healer and maybe try to, buff their heals. I don't know. I'm just thinking of utility uses for it because it doesn't sound that good. Fire Mage really doesn't struggle with crit all that much. If this isn't all three specs, we're not going to be looking at those right now. I might look at those later. But if it's in all three specs, I could see it maybe having a utility use in Frost or Arcane maybe. Just because they don't have as much crit opportunity as Fire does. I still think Rune of Power is going to be better. We'll have to see. We'll have to play around with it a bit. I'm sure there's going to be some type of busted use for it. Either that or it'll get buffed again in the beta once that comes out. Because you got to remember, all this is still alpha. There's no changes here outside of Phoenix Flames getting a tooltip adjustment in the form of, less information. Before it was 75% of spell power, and then it was 20% reduced damage to other enemies, or a hit for 20%. They basically cleaned up the tooltip to remove the 20%, so a little bit less information. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think giving players the most information in their talents is what they need to do. They need to stop giving us limited information in the tooltips, because the more information a player has, the better judgment he can have in picking that talent or finding a use for it. Anyway, everything else is the same here. Alexstrasza's Fury, your your Dragon's Breath still crits. Flame On gives you your extra charges and reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. I still think Flame On's probably going to be better, especially for AoE or single target. I just don't see Phoenix Flames being that good. I think these are the same. Ring of Frost is getting a little bit of a buff though. When it expires, enemies are slowed by 65% for 4 seconds, so it's getting an added slow to help it compete with the other two things in the tree. Flame Patch, Conflagration, Living Bomb, I believe are all the same. I still think Living Bomb is going to be good for AoE. I like Flame Patch. I think Flame Patch is pretty good if you don't want to worry about an extra button in your rotation, or finding the time to cast Living Bomb in your rotation. But the problem is that Flame Patch is limited to your Flame Strike, which then kills any type of Hot Streak chance of, floating into itself off of your Pyroblast that you cast. Because Flame Strike, even if it crits, it can't give you a Hot Streak charge. So I personally just don't like Flame Patch just because of that, not to mention that if a tank is kiting an enemy around a platform, odds are you're going to drop your Flame Patch and they're just going to be kited out of it. The same problem Meteor has at the moment. I still think Living Bomb is better. I think if you want to do AoE, I think you should learn how to throw Living Bomb into your rotation. Conflagration's good for single target. I think it's fine. As for the final tier for the talent tree, Kindling is up by an extra 0.5 seconds. I'm not sure how this is going to affect Kindling. I know a lot of people don't like it because it throws off the timing of their rotation. Usually, because Combustion's a 2-minute cooldown. By the time it's back up again, you have a Rune of Power up if you're running that, and you have multiple Fire Blasts, or you can pull forward a little bit, and you just have everything up and ready to run and do a full rotation and deal a lot of damage. Whereas if you kind of screw that 2-minute timer up, it throws things out of whack. We'll have to see how the 0.5 second changes things. Pyroclasm is increasing from 225 to 240 additional damage. I liked playing with Pyroclasm. I thought when the procs actually came in from consuming the Hot Streak, it did quite a bit of damage, especially if you could wait long enough and if you got lucky enough on your opening 3 Hot Streaks to get a charge or 2. You could easily start hard casting your Pyroblast during a time warp, have your Rune of Power down already, start hard casting. Then you could hit your Combustion mid-cast, which would then give you the ability to Fireblast and more Hot Streaks to maybe try to get another charge of it. And if you capped it too, you could then hard cast again during the time warp. And whenever it did hit, it was really, really strong. But the procs were kind of far and in between. And Meteor kind of ended up just winning out for both single target and AoE. Because it's guaranteed every 45 seconds, whereas there's times where Pyroclasm just wouldn't come out within that time frame, as weird as it sounds. I'm hoping that maybe if this doesn't work and people don't use it for single target, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to buff it to where Pyroclasm is being used in single target instead of Meteor being the overall pick for both AoE and single target. I could see them actually, I think it'd be cool if they would just buff Pyromaniac and Pyroclasm's percent chance. I could easily see that being overpowered as well, though, because then you just sit there and spam, Pyroblast over and over and over again and just keep hot streaking out. But, I don't know. I feel like these two are too gimmicky. Like, they're either going to be insanely broken or they're just not going to have a use. There's just kind of no in-between. Just for leveling purposes to kind of take the power creep out. So eventually, once you're max level, you'll be back where you were in BFA. All your abilities will work the same for the most part. I'm not going to go into a bunch of these. Fire Blast has just been baselined, so every spec gets it. They did update the tooltip for Hot Streak as well to say fire spells, because we are getting You know, like I said, Frostbolt. What else is there? Arcane Explosion, I think, is coming to the baseline utility. And they wanted to, you know, let you guys know that, hey, it's only going to be fire spells that Hot Streak can proc off of. Because right now in BFA, you can't use spells outside of the fire category anyway. So, good tooltip update to keep players who may not be sure about that. You know, keep them updated. This is just a tooltip change for Fire Blast, signifying again that your Ignite is what, or your Fire Blast is what causes your Ignite to spread. Pyroblast, I think, is getting one of the Azerite traits baked into it now. So it deals an additional 18.6% of spell power as fire damage over 6 seconds, whereas right now I don't think it does that baseline. I think that it just deals damage, but if you have the Azerite trait, it does that. So that's cool that they're giving them a little bit of Azerite power, or the Azerite trait, and that's what they're getting. Hurls an immense fiery boulder. Never mind, this is just the tooltip letting you know at what rank you get the extra damage. So Blast Wave is like I said 2.25% increase, and the slow has been increased as well to 6 from 4. I'm sure it'll have some utility on mob fights where, you know, you have to try to keep mobs from reaching a certain point, kind of like the Ajara fight where you had to keep the little ads from, you know, hitting the center of the platform. But again, I think there's other classes that have more utility slows that you're going to be with anyway, that you can keep your movement for Shimmer if you want to use that. Like we talked about, kindling extra 0.5 seconds. We'll see where that takes us, if it actually makes the rotation feel smoother or if it makes it feel worse. Living Bomb, they're just doing the same thing, reduce damage to all of their enemies within 10 yards. They're kind of like trying to take away AoE, it feels like. They're trying to really hit AoE. They don't want people pulling like 30-man mobs like we do now in BFA or like you'll see in the MDI. They want people to actually think about their pulls. So like I said, it splashes for 20% of spell power, and now it's just reduced. It doesn't say what percent of spell power it's dealing for the reduced targets. Again, I think this is a bad change. I think Blizzard should give players more information rather than less information. Like I said, Pyroclasm got buffed 15% to 240. We'll see if it makes a difference. These are just Fire Mage PvP changes. I don't really PvP, so it doesn't affect me. If you guys want to talk about PvP down below and let me know what these changes do, feel free. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it. I didn't bring up the tree because it looks like a lot of what's here is going to be within the description for what's going baseline. And I think I'm going to tackle each of the mages on their own. Like I said, I'm not knowledgeable about Frost and I'm not knowledgeable about Arcane. I wanted to cover the classes that I've at least played through and at least have some knowledge of. DK is probably my most knowledgeable class because that's what I played for, you know, 4 or 5 years now. Actually, probably ever since Wrath of the Lich King. It's probably been longer than 4 or 5 years. Jeez, it's been so long. It doesn't feel that long. Yeah. Fire Mage was kind of my go-to for BFA. That's why I'm talking about it. I might talk about Mistweaver as well, because I did play Mistweaver Monk. I liked the healing. Thought it was pretty fun. So maybe we'll do that in the next video, and then we'll come back to specs that I didn't play. And you guys can write down in the comments how I'm wrong about certain changes that I think may be good. And, you know, help me get a little bit more educated. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below what you guys think of the Fire Mage changes, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.